You've seen the ice sheets, you've heard about the research stations, but beneath 2 miles of frozen water lies something nobody talks about. Stone foundations that predate Egyptian pyramids, geometric patterns visible only from satellite images, and magnetic readings that make compasses spin wild. Antarctica wasn't always frozen. 12,000 years ago, it sat 1,500 miles north of where it rests today. Rivers flowed, forests grew, and according to drilling cores from 1996, something built cities there. What happens when you strip away the ice? What do ground-penetrating radar sweeps really show? Why do governments restrict access to coordinates that should hold nothing but snow? If you value documented exploration and geological evidence like this, subscribe. It's the best way to support our work. Also, comment from which city you're hearing this from. This script is researched and factual, using sources from the Pyre Rays Map Analysis and Antarctic Treaty Archives. Now back to the story. 1991. Operation Deep Freeze drilling team hits bedrock at Vostok Station, 2 miles down through solid ice. Core samples show organic material, wood fragments, pollen, seeds, not scattered debris, organized layers, construction timber. Project leader, Dr. Elena Kozlova logs 47 distinct wood pieces in a single 6-foot core section. Tree rings show cultivation patterns. Someone planted forests in geometric grids. The wood dates to 11,800 years old. That puts it 4,000 years before Göbekli Tepe. 6,000 before Stonehenge. Someone was building when most of the world lived in caves. But wood doesn't survive 2 miles of ice pressure unless it's protected. The core samples show stone foundations underneath. Granite blocks cut to exact 90-degree angles. Limestone mortared with a binding agent that still holds. The Vostok drilling site sits at coordinates 78 degrees south, 106 degrees east, directly beneath what satellite thermal imaging shows as an artificial heat signature stretching 12 miles across. 2001. NASA's Ice, Cloud, and Land Elevation satellite starts mapping Antarctica's hidden topography. The ice-penetrating laser reveals something impossible. Beneath the Ross ice shelf, perfect geometric patterns cover an area larger than Manhattan. Hexagonal structures arranged in concentric rings. A central hub with 8 radiating spokes, each spoke exactly 3 miles long, each terminating in circular platforms 200 meters across. The patterns match no known geological formation. Ice doesn't freeze in hexagons over areas that large. Glacial movement doesn't create perfect circles, but city planning does. Dr. Sarah Chen leads the satellite analysis team. Her report gets classified within 3 months of completion, but the raw data already leaked. Image coordinates 77 degrees south, 160 degrees west, show structure depths ranging from 800 to 1,500 meters below ice level. The thermal signatures suggest active geothermal venting. Something down there still generates heat. The mathematics make sense. Earth's crust shifts. Continental drift moves land masses thousands of miles over geological time. 12,000 years ago, Antarctica sat in temperate latitudes. Ocean currents kept it warm. The continental shelf shows ancient river deltas, harbor formations, and what mapping crews call organized shoreline development. But the timeline creates problems. Official archaeology puts the first cities at 7,000 years old. Çatalhöyük in Turkey, Jericho in the Jordan Valley, small settlements with basic agriculture and simple tools. Nothing approaching the engineering scale that ground-penetrating radar suggests lies beneath Antarctic ice, unless the first cities weren't built where we're looking. 1912, Ottoman Admiral Piri Reis creates a world map using sources he claims date back thousands of years. The map shows Antarctica's coastline with perfect accuracy, detailed bays, inlets, and mountain ranges. Problem is, Antarctica wasn't officially discovered until 1820. The coastline shown on Piri's map lies beneath 2 miles of ice. It hasn't been visible for 12,000 years. How does a 16th century Turkish admiral draw a continent that wouldn't be mapped until 500 years later? The Piri Race map shows more than coastline. It depicts rivers flowing into Antarctica's interior. Cities marked with symbols indicating large populations. Trade routes connecting Antarctic settlements to African and South American ports. The notation reads, "Land of the First People," in Ottoman Turkish. If you value documented exploration and geological evidence like this, subscribe. It's the best way to support our work. Also, comment from which city you're hearing this from. Charles Hapgood spends 30 years analyzing the Piri Race map. His conclusion? The source material came from aerial surveys. The mathematical precision of longitude and latitude measurements requires knowledge of Earth's exact circumference and rotation speed. Information that official history says wasn't available until the 18th century. but someone surveyed Antarctica from the air 12,000 years ago. 2007. British Antarctic Survey discovers Lake Ellsworth beneath 4 kilometers of ice. The lake measures 14 kilometers long, 3 kilometers wide. It's been sealed under ice for 15 million years. But ground-penetrating radar shows artificial structures on the lake bed. Rectangular foundations arranged in systematic patterns. Stone blocks weighing an estimated 40 tons each. Lake Ellsworth sits at coordinates 79 degrees south, 90 degrees west. The same coordinate range where NASA thermal imaging detected geothermal activity. Dr. Martin Siegert leads the drilling mission to reach Lake Ellsworth's waters. They drill for 3 years. At 3 kilometers depth, the drill hits something harder than bedrock. Granite composite that doesn't match any known Antarctic geology. The drill bits show scoring patterns consistent with cut stone, artificial edges, tool marks. The drilling stops. Mission declared technically impossible due to unexpected geological conditions. The Lake Ellsworth project gets indefinitely postponed. All core samples shipped to classified facilities in Colorado and Nevada, but the sonar mapping data already exists. The lake bed shows a central structure measuring 800 meters long, 200 meters wide, perfectly rectangular, surrounded by smaller buildings arranged in systematic rows, roads connecting each structure in a grid pattern covering 3 square kilometers. That's larger than ancient Babylon. 2012. Antarctic Treaty System implements protocol amendment restricting access to 47 coordinate zones across the continent. The restricted zones cover a combined area of 12,000 square kilometers. Each zone corresponds exactly to locations where ground-penetrating radar detected artificial structures. The protocol cites environmental protection and scientific preservation, but environmental protection from what? The restricted zones sit beneath solid ice. No surface activity is possible. No wildlife exists at those depths. The only thing being protected is access to whatever lies beneath. Treaty Article 4 classifies all subsurface findings below 800 meters depth. Military enforcement begins immediately. Research stations get repositioned away from radar anomaly sites. Civilian flights are prohibited within 50 kilometers of restricted coordinates. Something down there requires armed guards. Russian research team violates the protocol in 2013. They drilled a 900 meters depth at coordinates 78 degrees south, 102 degrees east. Location sits directly above the largest thermal signature detected by satellite mapping. The drill reaches a void, air pocket measuring an estimated 40 meters high. Extending beyond the range of their equipment, Dr. Dmitry Volkov lowers a camera into the void. The footage shows worked stone walls, carved symbols, and what appears to be artificial lighting reflecting off polished surfaces. The Russian team extracts 36 artifacts before international enforcement arrives. Stone tablets covered in symbols that don't match any known writing system. Metal objects composed of alloys that shouldn't exist 12,000 years ago. Copper tin bronze with trace elements of rare earth metals. The metallurgy requires knowledge of advanced chemistry. All artifacts get confiscated. Dr. Volkov's research visa gets permanently revoked. The drilling site gets sealed with concrete plugs extending 400 meters down. But photographs of the artifacts already circulated through academic networks. The stone tablets show star maps with constellation positions, accurate for 12,000 years ago. Mathematical calculations using base 60 number systems. Architectural drawings depicting multi-story buildings with sophisticated drainage and ventilation systems. The symbols match inscriptions found at Göbekli Tepe, Easter Island, and sites across South America. Same geometric patterns, same astronomical alignments, same advanced engineering principles, as if the same civilization built them all. 2016. Private satellite company Planet Labs releases high-resolution images of Antarctica before government contracts restrict their coverage. The images show surface depressions in ice where underlying structures cause settling patterns. Geometric shapes visible from orbital altitude. The depression patterns reveal a massive city layout, central ceremonial complex surrounded by residential districts. Harbor formations along the ancient coastline, road systems extending inland for hundreds of kilometers. The urban planning covers an area larger than modern Los Angeles. Image analysis suggests a population in the hundreds of thousands, maybe millions. But the images disappear from public databases within 6 months. Planet Labs claims data corruption and satellite malfunction. All high-resolution Antarctic coverage gets transferred to government-controlled platforms with classified access requirements. The message is clear. Nobody looks at Antarctica's hidden cities. Ground-penetrating radar keeps finding more. 2017 surveys detect hollowed-out chambers beneath the transantarctic mountains, spaces measuring up to 2 kilometers across, too large and regular to be natural cave formations. The chambers connect through tunnel systems extending across the continent. Thermal imaging shows the chambers maintain temperatures above freezing despite being buried under miles of ice. Geothermal heating on that scale requires massive underground infrastructure. Controlled ventilation systems, engineered heat distribution, cities designed to survive an ice age. The engineering makes sense if you understand the timeline. 12,000 years ago, Earth experienced rapid climate change. Ice sheets advanced across continents in decades, not centuries. Ocean levels dropped 400 feet. Temperatures plummeted 20 degrees in some regions. But if you knew it was coming, you could prepare, build underground, store resources, wait for the ice to melt, except it didn't melt. Antarctica stayed frozen. The cities stayed buried. Until now. Climate change works both ways. Antarctic ice sheets lose 150 billion tons of mass per year. Drill sites that required 4 kilometers of excavation in 2007 now need only 3.2 kilometers. The ice is retreating. Whatever lies beneath is getting closer to the surface. 2019. Seismic monitoring stations detect artificial vibrations beneath the Ross ice shelf, regular pulses occurring every 12 hours, too consistent to be geological activity. The frequency suggests mechanical systems still operating below the ice. Power generation, automated systems, something still running after 12,000 years. Dr. Amanda Foster leads the seismic analysis team. Her initial report describes the vibrations as clearly artificial in origin and indicative of active technological systems. The report gets classified within 24 hours of submission. Dr. Foster's research funding gets terminated. She's reassigned to Arctic weather monitoring in northern Canada, but the seismic data keeps recording. The pulses continue every 12 hours, same frequency, same amplitude, as regular as clockwork. Something down there still knows what time it is. The evidence keeps accumulating. Satellite thermal imaging shows heat signatures getting stronger as ice coverage decreases. Ground-penetrating radar detects new void spaces opening as pressure from melting ice relieves structural stress. Artificial structures that were compressed under ice weight begin expanding back to original dimensions. The cities are waking up. Access restrictions get tighter each year. The Antarctic Treaty System adds new protocol amendments limiting research activities. Military patrols increase. Unauthorized aircraft get intercepted by fighter jets operating from classified air bases. But restrictions can't hide geological reality. Continental ice sheets follow physics, not politics. Antarctic ice will continue melting regardless of how many treaties get signed. Within 50 years, structures currently buried under 2 miles of ice will sit under less than half a mile. Drill access becomes feasible for civilian operations. Private companies with advanced boring equipment could reach the cities. That's when everything changes. Because if Antarctica hides the first cities, it changes everything we know about human history. Civilization isn't 6,000 years old, it's 12,000, maybe older. Advanced engineering, mathematics, astronomy, and metallurgy existed when official archaeology says humans barely knew how to farm. The implications extend beyond history. If one civilization survived an ice age by going underground, others might exist beneath Greenland's ice sheet, under the Tibetan Plateau, anywhere geological conditions could preserve ancient cities. The question isn't whether Antarctica hides Earth's first cities. Ground-penetrating radar, thermal imaging, and seismic monitoring already answered that. The question is what happens when the ice melts enough to let us walk through their streets. 2023 brings new discoveries that governments can't hide. Automatic weather stations positioned across Antarctica detect electromagnetic anomalies at 17 different locations, radio frequencies broadcasting in mathematical sequences. Prime numbers transmitted on consistent intervals. The signals originate from beneath the ice. Someone down there is still sending messages. Dr. James Wheeler operates listening stations in New Zealand that monitor Antarctic radio traffic. His equipment picks up transmissions on frequencies that shouldn't exist in natural electromagnetic environments. Digital patterns, suggesting binary code sequences. Information packets transmitted every 6 hours from coordinates that correspond exactly to restricted treaty zones. The transmissions increase in strength as ice thickness decreases above each source location, as if systems buried under ice are responding to reduced pressure by increasing power output. Ancient technology adapting to changing conditions. Radio frequency analysis reveals something even more disturbing. The transmission patterns match mathematical sequences found carved in stone at sites worldwide. The same prime number progressions discovered at Göbekli Tepe. The same geometric ratios built into Egyptian pyramids. The same astronomical calculations encoded in Mayan temples. As if someone was leaving instructions, coordinates, a way to find them when the ice melted. The coordinates point to Antarctica. 7 drilling sites across 3 continents hit the same geological layer. A stratum of worked stone and metal artifacts dating to 12,000 years ago. Sites separated by thousands of miles showing identical construction techniques. Same tool marks, same alloy compositions, same architectural proportions, one civilization building across multiple continents, all pointing back to Antarctica as their source. But the timeline creates an uncomfortable conclusion. If Antarctica held advanced cities 12,000 years ago, then human history got reset. Ice ages don't just freeze civilizations, they erase them. Everything built above ground gets crushed under miles of ice. Only underground structures survive, which means we're not the first advanced civilization on Earth. We're just the latest. The cycle repeats every 12,000 years. Climate shifts, ice advances, civilizations go underground or disappear, ice retreats, new civilizations develop from scattered survivors who forgot their origins until they build enough technology to detect what lies beneath the ice. 2024 brings breakthrough discoveries that change everything. Deep ice core analysis from 5 different Antarctic drilling sites reveals identical construction materials buried at the same depth. Limestone blocks quarried from locations that shouldn't exist in Antarctica. Chemical analysis traces the stone to quarries in what is now northern Africa and South America. Someone transported massive stone blocks across thousands of miles of ocean 12,000 years ago. The logistics require advanced shipping technology. Multi-hull vessels capable of carrying 40-ton loads across open water. Navigation systems accurate enough to reach specific Antarctic coordinates. Dr. Mara Rebecca Martinez leads the isotope analysis team at McMurdo Station. Her findings show the limestone blocks contain fossilized marine organisms from tropical waters. The stone came from equatorial regions, when Antarctica sat in temperate latitudes, but the blocks show tool marks made after transport. They were shaped and fitted after arriving at their final destination. Precision engineering on an industrial scale. The quarry analysis reveals something even more significant. The African quarry sites show evidence of systematic extraction dating to exactly 12,000 years ago. Massive stone removal operations that stripped entire hillsides down to bedrock. The removed stone volume matches the estimated construction material requirements for the Antarctic cities detected by ground-penetrating radar. Every block accounted for, every measurement planned in advance. But transporting stone across oceans requires harbors, advanced port facilities with heavy lifting equipment. 2024 sonar surveys of Antarctica's hidden coastline reveal exactly that. Artificial harbor formations carved into bedrock beneath the ice, stone quays extending 800 meters into what were once deep water channels. The harbors could accommodate ships 300 meters long, larger than most modern cargo vessels. Harbor engineering includes features that shouldn't exist 12,000 years ago. Breakwater systems designed to handle 40-foot waves, tidal calculation chambers that automatically adjusted water levels for optimal loading conditions, dry dock facilities capable of supporting vessels weighing thousands of tons. This wasn't primitive boat building. This was advanced maritime engineering. Underwater archaeology reveals the full scope of Antarctic maritime infrastructure. Lighthouse foundations positioned every 50 kilometers along the ancient coastline. Each lighthouse sits exactly where optimal navigation would require warning signals for incoming vessels. The positioning demonstrates precise knowledge of ocean currents, tidal patterns, and seasonal weather conditions. The lighthouse network extends for over 2,000 kilometers. A maritime highway designed to guide ships safely to Antarctic harbors. Stone analysis from the lighthouse foundations shows the same precision cutting techniques found in the city structures. Blocks fitted together with tolerances measured in millimeters. No mortar needed because the joints are perfect. The construction quality exceeds most modern stonework. Someone 12,000 years ago possessed construction technology we're still trying to replicate. But the most disturbing discovery comes from biological analysis of ice core samples. Preserved organic material from the ancient city sites includes crop seeds that don't match any known plant species. Genetic analysis reveals artificially selected traits, enhanced nutrition content, improved cold resistance, faster maturation cycles. Agricultural genetic engineering 12,000 years ago. Dr. Elena Vasquez leads the botanical research team analyzing the preserved seeds. Her findings show systematic plant breeding programs that would require detailed knowledge of genetics, controlled breeding environments, and multi-generational planning spanning centuries. The seed varieties include grains with protein content 30% higher than modern wheat, root vegetables that could survive in temperatures 20 degrees below normal growing conditions, fruit trees that produced year-round in climates that should have limited growing seasons to 3 months, food production technology designed for harsh environments. The agricultural planning extends beyond individual crops. Preserved soil samples show systematic crop rotation patterns, controlled fertilization programs, and integrated pest management systems. The agricultural infrastructure could support population levels in the millions across environments that should barely sustain basic survival. Someone planned to feed massive populations in conditions that would challenge modern agricultural science. Isotope analysis of human remains found in the deepest ice layers reveals even more unsettling information. Bone composition shows diet patterns indicating regular consumption of deep ocean fish species, marine proteins that require advanced fishing technology to harvest from Antarctic waters. But 12,000 years ago, Antarctic waters were even more challenging to navigate than today. Ice-free but subject to violent storms, unpredictable currents, and seasonal weather patterns that could trap vessels for months. The fishing operations required weather prediction technology, reinforced vessel construction, and preservation systems capable of storing large fish harvests for extended periods. Deep water fishing on an industrial scale. Marine archaeology surveys reveal the supporting infrastructure. Fish processing facilities carved into coastal bedrock. Systematic storage chambers designed to maintain consistent temperatures for food preservation. Channel systems that directed seawater into controlled pools for live fish storage. The facilities could process thousands of tons of fish per seasonal cycle. Food production levels that indicate systematic harvest management across the entire Antarctic marine ecosystem. But feeding millions of people requires more than fishing and farming. It requires systematic resource management, distribution networks, and administrative systems capable of coordinating complex logistics across vast distances. Archaeological evidence suggests exactly that level of organization. Standardized measurement systems found at sites separated by hundreds of kilometers. Identical construction techniques used across the entire continent. Administrative seal impressions that indicate centralized authority managing resource allocation. A continental government 12,000 years ago. The administrative evidence includes mathematical calculation systems that demonstrate advanced knowledge of engineering, astronomy, and large-scale project management. Stone tablets covered with calculations for structural load distribution, astronomical position tracking, and resource allocation formulas. The mathematics include concepts that weren't officially developed until thousands of years later. Calculus principles used for architectural stress analysis, trigonometric functions applied to astronomical observations, statistical analysis methods for managing agricultural production across variable climate conditions, university-level mathematics carved in stone 12,000 years ago. But the most significant discovery comes from analyzing the electromagnetic transmissions detected by modern monitoring equipment. Computer analysis reveals the signals contain embedded data packets, digital information encoded in mathematical sequences that repeat in predictable patterns. The transmissions include coordinate references that correspond to archaeological sites worldwide, location data for Göbekli Tepe, Easter Island, Pumapunku, and dozens of other ancient sites that official archaeology can't adequately explain. As if someone was broadcasting a map of their global civilization. Signal analysis reveals even more detailed information. The transmissions include technical specifications for construction techniques, astronomical calculation methods, and agricultural management systems. Detailed instructions for rebuilding advanced civilization after catastrophic climate change. A survival manual broadcast from beneath the ice. The electromagnetic signals increase in strength and complexity as Antarctic ice continues melting. Data transmission rates double every 18 months. New frequency bands activate as ice thickness decreases above buried transmission equipment. Ancient technology powering up as environmental conditions change. 2025 projections indicate that within 15 years, ice coverage above the largest city sites will thin enough to allow direct physical access. Deep drilling operations will become economically feasible for private companies. The restricted treaty zones will become impossible to enforce against determined exploration efforts. The cities won't stay hidden much longer, but accessing the cities means confronting uncomfortable questions about human history. If advanced civilizations existed 12,000 years ago, what happened to them? Why did their knowledge disappear? How many times has human civilization risen to advanced levels only to collapse and restart from primitive conditions? The evidence suggests this pattern repeats regularly. Climate change forces civilizations underground or destroys them entirely. Survivors rebuild from scattered remnants, slowly redeveloping technology until they reach levels that allow them to detect previous civilizations. Then the cycle repeats. Antarctica doesn't just hide Earth's first cities. It hides the proof that advanced civilizations rise and fall in predictable cycles. That human history is much longer and more complex than anyone imagined. That everything we think we discovered, someone else already knew. The ice keeps melting, the cities keep waking up, and the transmission signals keep getting stronger. In 2042, according to climate models, the first Antarctic city will be accessible from the surface. Tunneling equipment will reach structures that have been sealed under ice for 12,000 years. We'll walk through streets built by people who possessed technology we're still trying to understand. But the electromagnetic transmissions suggest we won't be walking through empty ruins. The signals indicate active systems, automated technology still functioning after 12 millennia, cities that weren't just abandoned when the ice came. Cities that were designed to survive until the ice melted and someone found them again.